Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Novak again. What you're looking at here is photographs in this video that was sent to me, and a little bitty video here of a fella up in New York. This particular aquarium I've shown on my YouTube channel before. It's going on 3 years old now. So he did tell me something that was kind of curious. Now, if you look at the tank, this is 4 foot long. He put an undergravel filter in. I think the undergravel filter was, well, it didn't cover the whole thing. I think it was made only for a 3 foot tank or maybe a 2 foot tank. Anyhow, to make his plenum. And in the process of doing that, he said he had to, it didn't fit the full 4 foot, okay? So he just basically put it in the center, the plenum only. But he said he pulled out a plant in this aquarium that was not where the plenum was. And he said it smelled of hydrogen sulfide where the plenum was not existing. Like I said, this tank's going on 3 years old. So, because I asked him, I said, now where's the plant that you pulled out? Was it where the plenum was, or was it where you don't have any of the plenum at all and it's just the substrate sitting on the bottom? He said, no, it was sitting on the bottom of the aquarium. I thought that's a little interesting that when he pulled the plant out, that he could smell that. Though he said he did not harm any of the fish, he could tell something was wrong. But anyway, so the next few photographs you're going to see is a aquarium that's going on 3 years old. And he's had a lot of the fish that are in this aquarium are wild fish, wild caught fish. They're not from a market, but they're actually from South America or whatever. He said, yeah, like his rummy noses, they're all wild caught rummy noses. They're not from the market. But anyway, in this video, what I wanted to talk about, and I thought it would be interesting as I'm talking, that you can look at somebody else's aquarium that's old. Oh, it's just not going to be this one big aquarium, the 75-gallon. It's also going to be his small one he's been running, and he's had great success with that one too. But as the title said, when we think about people who actually, adamantly hate even talking about, maybe talking about like deep sand beds or plenums or anoxy filters. They hate it to the point where they would close down their whole channel if they even had to talk about it. I mean, that's pretty adamant. When someone says, I'd rather close down my channel than even talk about it, that's pretty adamantly saying, I don't want that information getting out. However, these same people, well, they personally sang a different tune back in 2019. And apparently they did admit that deep sand beds and plenums do work, and they do denitrification. Whether it's assimilatory denitrification with a deep sand bed or dissimilative denitrification if you're using an anoxic filter or a plenum, there's two different, as we know, denitrification. One dissimilative denitrification is the one that is used in our wastewater plants to convert nitrates under anoxic conditions into N2, which is denitrogen, a gas element, denitrogen. And so he does admit it. Aquarium Co-Op did, But this was sent to me by one of my viewers who said, yeah, the guy was a little different back in 2019. I think what has happened is through the years, as more and more people start wanting to have more and more information about such plenums and anoxic filters and stuff like that, kind of changing his tune where he doesn't even want to talk about it anymore. And that would make sense because it would interfere with commerce, his business. And definitely he doesn't sell any undergravel filters to people. But however, if you watch these videos, I will leave a link down below to these two videos I'm talking about. They're long. They're over an hour. One's over an hour. The other one's over 2 hours. They're very long videos. But anyhow, I'm going to tell you some things that he kind of said, which kind of makes you scratch your head thinking, well, what happened? And of course, we all know it's over money, business, because this is back in 2019. He had a lot of followers, but nothing near of what he has now. Okay, no way he had this many followers in 2019 when he said this. And I don't think he ever envisioned that it would become more and more popular as time went on, as people learned how things work and why they work that way. But he does say some good things about deep sand beds, and which is they do denitrification. And he says some very bad things, being that he said he was in the worked for an aquarium or a pet store for a decade, a little over a decade. He'd been doing it. He talks, of course, about sand. He doesn't really approve sand. He said he uses it in some tanks where the application would apply, and that means fish that could stir it up, fish that need it, like geophagus, that would constantly, bring it in her mouth and spit it out. He said it does have its application, but he does not condone it. Aquarium Co-Op says no, he doesn't condone sand. Sand is basically being bought by people because it's inexpensive, which is, I've seen other videos, I think you have too, come on, let's face facts, where people have admitted the only reason we're using sand because it's so expensive and this is such a large tank, it would cost us way too much money to fill it with a substrate that we would want. So sand is the choice. But he said, he was saying that sand compacts too much, but it is cheap. And the reason he doesn't like it is because it does compact. Fluids can't move freely through it. And he said it can get into your pump. It could wreck your impellers and stuff like that if it gets into your pump. And he said there's not very good water flow. Well, these are things I have said, and he even admits it. So not only have I said this, but here he admits the same thing back in 2019, that's why he doesn't want to use it or doesn't even recommend it to people, because it does compact and it hinders water flow. And he tries to explain to her that, and he explains the fact that an inch or half inch or so below the sand, you will have bacteria that will use nitrates inefficiently because the movement of water through the sand is not enough to make an impact on the aquarium. So in other words, he's saying, yeah, it uses nitrates when you put sand at the bottom through assimilatory denitrification, but it doesn't work as good as you'd want because water is moving so incredibly slow through it. It doesn't make an impact on the aquarium. He says, but even though plenums do what they're supposed to do, and even though the sand bed, like Father Fish advocates with dirt and everything does what it's supposed to do, it's not very efficient at what it does because of the slow movement. It's just too slow. And he says basically plants, okay, is easier to use than it is a deep sand bed. Well, that's why I guess Father Fish says if you're going to use a deep sand bed, you got to have 70% of your aquarium with plants. However, as I told you from the guy from New York, when he pulled one of his plants out and the part that wasn't over the plenum, he could tell that there was hydrogen sulfide. Okay, so that goes to show what Aquarium Co-ops is 100% correct. He said, I said, yes, I saw the same thing in my tanks too. When you have a deep sand bed of 3, 4, 5 inches, whatever, or a fine gravel or something like that, yes, you pull your plants out, you can notice that you could have hydrogen sulfide. The plants aren't as efficient as you think bringing oxygen through the substrate. This has just been proven time and time again, but that's just the way it is. Because he admits that sand's good if you have animals to sift through it, I'm going to play you a little clipping here on that. I did one of my videos of a fella at the Tampa Bay Aquarium. Okay. And it's just a short clip. I think it's 2 minutes. I'm going to play you this little clip, and I want you to watch it because he explains to you why they have to stir up the substrate in this exhibit. It's a big exhibit. It has mangoes in it and stuff like that. But he says they have to stir it up because they went up with algae problems. And then I ask him some questions, and he explains to me, yes, they end up with algae problems because they end up with ammonia problems if they don't keep it stirred up until he can get some sea cucumbers or something to literally keep the substrate stirred up. So right now I'm going to play that short little clip. I think it's only about 2 minutes, and then I'll continue on. Okay, Chris.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, how's it going? My name is Chris. I work over here at the Florida Aquarium. Today I'm actually breaking up the sand a bit to help with the algae growth over the sand. If you look in the back over there, you can see that's an area where we haven't broken up the sand in a little while. And you can see the green algae growing over quite a lot. In this front section here where I'm starting to break it up now, I'm helping stir the sand up a bit, make sure that the algae doesn't gain a foothold in here and turn it into what it looks like in the back. Ideally, I would have some sort of a fish or maybe something like a sea cucumber in here in the sand, stirring it up for me, and that is in the works here. But until we get our sea cucumber in this system, I will be manually stirring it to help keep the sand looking as healthy as possible.
Now, Chris, I want to ask you a question because this is for my audience. The reason you're doing this, it's because when the sand lays directly at the bottom of this particular tank, it's creating ammonia, correct?
Yes. Yes.
The ammonia is becoming a food source for the algae which you are seeing on top of the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, you are physically taking that stick and physically moving the sand around in this aquarium to prevent and release the ammonia so you don't have the algae to grow. Am I absolutely correct?
Yeah, because if this were to sit for too long, then the ammonia would build up within, and then later on, if we actually were to stir the sand, you could have problems where you have high levels of ammonia going into your system. That could also affect your fish health as well.
Okay, so I want to thank you, Chris.
No problem.
I wanted to make sure I did this video so we can see Chris. This is exactly what I've been teaching you on my station about what Chris is doing. Look, you physically have to stir the sand up. If you don't release the ammonia, you are going to end up with algae problems. Here we are at the Florida Aquarium, and this is exactly what they do. versus a anoxic filtration system, which I have been teaching you on my station, which you don't have to do this because you have fluids moving in and out of the substrate 24/7. So here's your proof right here of the Florida Aquarium actually stirring the sand up to prevent algae growth. And I want to thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. No problem.
Okay, so this video proves that what Aquarium Co-Op said in 2019 is absolutely true. Okay, there's no doubt that the man has his act together in 2019. Right here is his proof. It's what I've been saying. Right here, you just saw a professional Tampa Bay Aquarium, what they have to do if you decide you want to go with the sand bed or a deep sand bed. This is what you have. This is what they have to do. Did you notice all the mangroves in there? They weren't helping any. And I think I did a video on pothos, how they really don't help. Another thing was the myth of mangroves, how they thought anyhow they would help, and they didn't. So this is proof positive that what I said about, in some myths, that these are just myths. They don't work. There's no scientific proof to them. Anyhow, this goes to show all of us that back in 2019, Aquarium Co-op was right. And I just kind of cemented in what he has said and what I have said, that a lot of hobbyists are being buffaloed into or deceived into thinking that they can just take a bag of sand and throw it at the bottom of the tank and it's fine. It doesn't quite work that way. It's not quite that simple. In fact, I had one fella ask me a question on my channel not very long ago. Kind of like, I'm up on the fence. I don't know whether I should use your system or Father Fish's system. And basically, I wrote him back in the comments. I wrote him back and said, use Father Fish's system. I mean, in all reality, people, if you're on the fence, you don't know what to do, hey, go ahead, use Father Fish's system. It's one of those things where I do understand there's a lot going on that you have to do, but I'm not like other YouTube channels. I know that people like another YouTube channels would say, oh no, use our system. Don't use his system. It's bad. I looked at, that's why I told the guy, go use his system. Go ahead. If you're up on the fence about it, use his system. I'm not forcing you to use mine. This is an education channel. I'm not forcing people to do anything. I'm trying to educate you so you can make an astute decision on what system you want to use for your applications. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to tell you that don't use a deep sand bed with dirt. I'm just trying to educate you. Hey, this is what happens. This is what the professional aquariums, public aquariums are doing when they have a sand substrate and stuff like this. This is the science behind what I'm telling you. You make a decision. If you think that what Aquarium Co-op says is right up your alley, well, do what he says. I'm not going to tell you not to. If you think Father Fish is telling you the truth, or any of the other aquarium stations out there where a lot of these people have very little experience. Remember, by the time Aquarium Co-op had even a decade of knowledge, I already had over 30 plus years. Plus, I already was going to college to learn ichthyology. And I had already worked at a pet stores when I was a teenager and everything, just probably like he did, and learned all the ropes of pet stores. But I continued my education to even learn more than what the pet stores were telling you, because they basically you know, you learn all the names, you learn how to order fish, you learn what the market is, you learn to go to the market, or you learn to pick up your fish at the airport, whatever. You learn all that stuff to run a pet store. It's not real complicated to run a pet store. All you need is some kind of capital, and then you could start a pet store. It's not a real complicated business. It does require work, but it's not a complicated business. I worked at it when I was a teenager too. But to advance even more, so a lot of these people who have been doing this, which I don't want to mention a lot of their names, they have not even been doing it nearly as long as I have. They don't have even the education. Now, I'm not trying to put them down, but I'm just saying, when they give advice, they're not giving advice that is being taught in our universities and colleges. They're giving their advice, what they think is right. And this happens quite a lot in this hobby. Some people, they make a comment to me that's like, where are you getting this? You know, this is completely wrong. I wanted to show you that. I wanted to do this video to show you that at one time, some of these people that have videos and stuff, they actually thought differently, or they did tell people the absolute truth and they didn't hide it. And today they're hiding it. And it's only because they just don't want people to know. Because I think myself, it's becoming more popular. Anyhow, you can leave in the comments what you think. Why did someone who's a professional like Aquarium Co-op start singing a different song by the time the year 2022 was coming around from 2019, where he was given good information? All of a sudden, he doesn't even want to talk about it unless he closes down his station. He won't even talk about it. He doesn't even want to. Why? You know, it's just part of fish keeping. It's part of science. You know, why would you do such a thing? It doesn't make any sense until you start thinking, if it's going to start cutting into profits, then you can understand why all these people are shutting up about it, or they give phony results. You know, in their mind, they think it should be this way. Well, yeah, but all that stuff has to be proven. It's just not something you can just say because in your mind it sounds logical. And most of this information, anecdotal information, is what it is. And I hate to say it, but most of it is anecdotal information. They're getting it from somebody who's getting it from somebody who did a little experiment. I show you experiments. I constantly am showing you experiments that were done by other doctors here in the United States and Italy and stuff like that. And that never seems to be enough. It just never seems to be enough information. It never seems to quench the thirst for these people to say that what I say is right and what their anecdotal information is wrong, or it's been misconstrued, or something like that. You know, you understand what I mean. It's just you get too much of this in this hobby, where people can't just get the honest information. As I said in this video here, this was brought up to me by one of my things about how honest information was being given out in 2019, and now it becomes a part where I don't even want to talk about it in 2023. How did this happen? That's basically it for this video. It'll probably be a little controversial, but of what people say. But look, this video proves of what I'm saying. Aquarium Co-op actually, in his video, if you watch it, will prove that what Tampa Bay Aquarium says is right about sand and stuff like that. It all boils down to what you want to believe in. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. It just goes to show that many years ago, one thing was being said by a lot of people, and today they've changed gears, and they don't even want to talk about it. I guess it's just food for thought. I guess it's up to the hobbyists to say what they want to believe in or what they don't want to believe in. Anyhow, it's just something that this is a learning process for everybody. The only good thing of it is we can go to the Wayback Machine and actually find out what somebody said several years ago, and it will make us wonder, why have you changed? Why have your thoughts changed? Why is it now that you don't even want to talk about it? So anyhow, it's just something to think about as a hobbyist, the information you want to take and the information you don't want to take. So until next time, this is Dr. Novak. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can be informed of any new videos that I come up with. I want to thank all those people who send me pictures, such as the fella here who sent me all these pictures, the information I get from my viewers, such as the individual that sent me the information on Aquarium Co-Op in 2019. He literally sent this. This is not something that I found. I want to thank them for that. So it really, like in this hobby, you can't get by with much because apparently it can be looked up in archives and people can see, you know, what you really said in the past and why have you flip-flopped. Anyhow, until next time, happy fish keeping and thank you for watching.